Welcome to Syd Malcolm. Of course, I'm Malcolm, and sitting beside me is Syd. And this is Syd is the major mover and the originator of Rock and Wrap It Up. Anyway, good morning, Syd.
Good morning, and so nice to be on the air on this first day of June.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The year is 40% over.
Yeah. Well, what amazes me, and I don't know, is because as you get older, is that we finished a 20% of the 21st century. It's 2021. I
Right.
remember distinctly going in, the turn of the century and what's going to happen, and all the computers are going to go crazy. Nothing happened, of course. And then I remember seeing 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I saw it live. I'm not live, but when it came out, I think it was 68 or 69. I said, oh my God, what's going to happen in 2001? And of course, now it's 2021. It's amazing.
And people are still hungry.
And people are still hungry.
That is,
and it's getting worse.
Well, that's our reality. Our reality is that there will always be a group of people that will not share in the capitalism of our great nation, and they have to be taken care of, and that's what we try to do.
Well, what is it? 1% of the American population own 90% of the income. I mean, some weird numbers like that.
But our economy is based on 90% inclusion. I don't think that you could go with the ownership. I think that you have to go with what is the everyday of people. And if 90% of them are doing pretty well, then we have a great economy, and that's pretty much where we are right now.
Well, I don't think 90. Yeah, I don't think 90% of the population is doing well.
Well, they are, as compared to other countries, as compared to other things that you want to balance and compare them to. But the corollary is that in 330 million people, 30 million people are food insecure in our country. And that's the number that I use when we have discussions with people that want to do donations of food, people that may have merchandise that they want to donate. And we show them that theirs is an important donation because of that number, which will never change. It'll only go up.
That's approximately 10% of the population is food insecure.
Correct.
Wow.
At any given time. And if there are depressions that have taken place, the number does rise. And in 2008, 2009, that number went up to 40 million Americans that were food insecure when our population was not working. Last year, we know that because of COVID, quite a number of people were unemployed, but a lot of money went into helping them. So there was no real strategy in 2008, but in 2019 and 20, money did go to the at-risk populations, and most of them were able to take advantage of it. Plus, a very, very lenient unemployment stipend has helped a lot of people.
Yeah, well, I don't know what's happening. I don't think it was when I was younger, but I see so many homeless people. I see so many, people living in tents, going. I live in Los Angeles, going in the freeway, they're living under the underpass, or going into parks, and they have tents up there. And it's not only when I was younger in my youth in New York, when they said the Bowery. Basically, it was junkies or alcoholics or people that had mental illness. But now I go see the people, they're women and children. And I'm not sure what to do about it.
Well, there's nothing you could do. You have a governor and a mayor that have allowed it. It's not the same in every city in America. Your city and your state have allowed this to occur. And they have not put in the types of regulations that other states and cities have done. So people will flock to what's called sanctuary cities, like what Los Angeles is, and San Francisco, and Portland, and Seattle. And you have populations that come from other states to live on the streets there and beg and do crime because they could get away with it. And they do. It's not great for somebody like you that's concerned about your property values, you're concerned about your health, you're concerned about your safety, and all that are jeopardized by having a culture that allows lawlessness. And there is no easy answer to it at this point, because you are knee deep in it is a good way to say it.
Well, I'm not sure when you mention crime, I think of other things aside from the people, people starving, which I hate to see, the kids living out, on the street. I think crime is, I would think, I don't know the statistics, are more generated by the drug addicts that need
Absolutely
money,
not.
that need money.
Oh,
No?
no. The people that you were seeing on the streets, they live by shoplifting and stealing. And almost every store has to put in new security systems. They have to put in people at the door to stop rampant shoplifting all over sanctuary cities. And, that's something that you have to deal with if you want to. They don't prosecute at this point shoplifters in many cities. If they do, they're in and out of jail the same day. It's considered a misdemeanor, not a felony. But who suffers from it? You, because you're going to be paying more for food. You're going to be paying more for clothing. You're going to be paying more for the security systems. So by not having the type of policing that is needed, or at least security, we all are going to have a problem. And I've seen this in every city. But again, the corollary is that there are also more pantries, more shelters, more soup kitchens that are giving items to the people that have suffered during this pandemic. And many of them are able to exist because of the magnanimousness of these institutions. And Rock and Wrap It Up has been involved from day one in trying to get as much food as possible. One of our problems has been that some of our major resources, like schools and colleges, sports and music arenas, have all stopped. TV and film industry shooting, that's just coming back now. Those were the organizations that donated to us between 30 and 40 million pounds of food a year. And that food is not available. So a lot of the agencies have started giving out more non-perishable items, and not the items of fresher meats and vegetables, fruits that we have given out in the past.
Yeah. Now you had talked about at the beginning, or not beginning of the show, but before we went on, about food freshness and the laws that are involved, and how you make sure that the food that you get is edible and not stale or bad.
Well, I'm going to actually talk a little bit about globally what is being done and what can be done in this country.
Okay.
So 5 years ago in France and in England, laws were passed that said that if the food had 3 days of shelf life left, you had to donate it to an agency that took care of the hungry. And that passed. And if you didn't do it, you were steeply fined in the hundreds of thousands of equal, pounds, equal, euros, francs. And then Italy and Germany passed the same laws. So in Europe, you have 4 major countries that are taking care of short-dated items safely, and that food is going to feed the hungry of their countries. 6 years ago, I had a meeting to try to arrange to have this done as a pilot in New York City. And we met with the Department of Sustainability of Mayor Bill de Blasio's office. And after 2 or 3 meetings, we were on our way to get this done. And then the woman who headed the agency left, and the interest in it waned, and then it disappeared. But there's no reason why in the United States we can't have state laws. It can't be done on a federal level the way that the United States is set up. But you have 50 states, and each state could pass a legislation that says if the food has 3 days dating on it, it should be given away. And if it's not doing, then a steep fine should be given. Now, the reasons for this are massive. There were a series of laws that were passed in 1996 by a congressman from Missouri named Bill Emerson. And the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Act of 1996, which was signed into law by then President Bill Clinton, basically said that donors are protected from liability as long as safe food handling is used. So you were encouraged to donate whatever food you had. And it protected the donors, and it was meant for the donors more than anyone else. Rock and Wrap It Up was already 5 years old, and we got in touch with, sadly, Bill Emerson passed, but his widow, Joanne Emerson, took his place in Congress, and she joined our board of directors and has been on our board for 25 years. The key to all of this is common sense. We do not believe in certain things. We don't believe in dumpster diving. We don't believe in taking things that are at risk to the population that we're serving. And we tried to have agencies that my wife Diane vets that are close to the donors themselves. So it's almost like doing a midnight run to Taco Bell and you're home in 15 minutes with your Taco Bell food. Well, we have the same philosophy when it comes to food donations. We want to have an agency as close as possible to our donor. And I have always said this, that if you're going to be dealing with the population, the only one that matters are the people that are on the line waiting to get food, because they are dependent on you to keep them safe. They have no idea who is handling what, but they are saying, wow, if I'm eating at this soup kitchen and this soup kitchen has a license to operate from the Department of Health of that city, state, or county, then I'm going to know that I'm not going to get sick. And I go back and I tell my donors the only important thing is that you're giving me things that have been safely handled, that are in date, and that I know I could feed someone with within the next 48 hours. And that has been the signature of Rock and Wrap It Up, where we have now tried to work with a lot of our arenas and stadiums where they have put in freezers, or they freeze the food so that my volunteer agencies, which are mainly faith-based, can go the following morning and pick up the food. So you don't have 5 cars going into Citi Field after a Met game when there are 40,000 people leaving the stadium. And we have found that that has worked really, really great. So they pick up the food the next day. The other thing that we do to assure, I've always believed in blockchain accounting. So Rock and Wrap It Up is one of the first agencies to establish a donor form that the recipient agency has to fill out. If they don't fill it out, I don't send them on a trip again, and they're screwed because they need the food. On our form is the date. Who gave it to them? How much food is it? Is it in trays or boxes? Is it just poundage from other receptacles that they brought themselves? And where it's going. And all that is promulgated by our software. And at the end of, let's say, a month, we're able to tell the people at Citi Field, Yankee Stadium, Madison Square Garden, how much food they've donated. And then we go one step further. How much greenhouse gas was diverted by you giving that food away and not letting it go into landfill? How many meals did it equal using the USDA meal equivalency of 1.2 pounds for a meal? How much water was saved by not having to grow food to replace what you've donated? And all that is done by Rock and Wrap It Up through our Whole Earth calculator to give back to our donor. And now in 2021, there's a lot of people that are interested in the environmental footprint that is out there.
Somebody wants you.
Syd Mandelbaum. They don't want me that badly.
Oh. Now, what percentage of your food comes from, let's say, supermarkets or large chain stores that are dated?
I would say, well, all of it is dated. All of our food has an end date, has a shelf life. So I'm going to do the other way. In large buffets that take place at Yankee Stadium, that food that we get is not the food that's out on the buffet. We get the trays of food that have never gone out. There's always at least one tray backing up every tray that's out on a buffet. I want that tray that has not seen the light of day or the air. That's what I get. And that food is either continued to be refrigerated or is frozen. And that's what we pick up the next day.
What happens to the food that was displayed? Is that useless or?
Useless.
Does that go to anybody or they just dump it?
Well, you know what? It goes, in some cities, goes to composting.
Mm-hmm.
In the city of Las Vegas, that has enormous buffets that goes to feed cattle and to feed animals. Mm-hmm. And they have organizations that pick that food up and feeds it to animals and farms around Las Vegas and Reno.
Now, couldn't that food be picked up within that same day and served at one of the soup kitchens or?
Not if it's been out.
No, okay.
Once it's out, it begins to degrade. And, you know, and I can't reiterate more that the population that we're feeding is an at-risk population, not just financially, but a lot of them have immunological conditions. A lot of them are not as healthy as we are. Some of them suffer from HIV, still suffering from hepatitis. All the instances and conditions that people get when they're living on a street or they're not going to a doctor frequently. Mm-hmm. So we're always concerned about their immune system. And again, that's why we don't believe in dumpster diving, because the food begins to degrade in the dumpster. And if you're going to give it to somebody on a line, they're going to get sick.
Right. Plus, in the dumpster, they have other creatures that are eating out of it.
Exactly.
Like in New York and LA, the rats.
Unfortunately, people think that it's somehow politically correct to dumpster dive. And when I tell them that you're not helping, if you yourself are eating the food, fine, because you're not making someone else eat it. If you think that you want to eat it, go eat it. But don't think of giving it to someone that's on a line that's depending on you to really take care of them.
It might be worse.
And, you know, we try to have a shelf life of no more than 48 hours. For anything that's on a tray, on a buffet, if that food is not served in 48 hours, throw it out. Or compost it.
Now, you had mentioned in Europe, they were doing they were giving away canned food that was dated 3 day, you know, a 3-day expiration. What do they do with that food here?
They give it away until the last day, and in some instances, they try to give it away when it's past expired. Now, there's a best use date and there's an expiration date. We don't take food that is expired. It's just not worth us doing it. I wouldn't take a risk with it. In this country, they throw it away. They make it into compost. which a lot of people are very comfortable with. I would rather feed people with it instead of getting it to a point that it becomes compost. All it takes is some vision. Most people look at the date of items that are perishable. They won't buy an item if it's 1 day out. Oh my God, this is dated June 2nd.
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy it. Well, if I got that food today on June 1st or May 31st, I have agencies that would absolutely give it out.
Yeah.
And that is what we're trying to do throughout the US, to make people cognizant that there should be no one hungry in our country.
Yeah.
There is enough caterers work with 8 to 10% overages. People are not buying short dated items. That's enough food to feed the 30 million Americans
You were hungry.
that we need to feed.
Now, what about fruits and vegetables? Because there's no expiration date on those, but of course, you can see them turning colors like lettuce or
Right.
apples or tomatoes. When is that no good to eat? Is there an expiration date on
Well,
that? They're not fresh?
we work with Trader Joe's and Costco, and they do date their items. So the bag would have a date on it. And we don't get items from them because they know us already that are expired. They will throw them away. Most of our partners at this point give to us because they've already gotten credit from the vendor. Costco's a perfect example. They have so many items that are returned to them. If they had to send all those items back to the people that sold it to them, it would cost them a fortune, especially the vendors would have to pick up that cost.
Right.
So the vendors say to Costco, you know what? Destroy it. In their heads, they're going, oh, Syd Malcolm, rock and wrap it up. Instead of destroying it, we'll get it.
Okay.
And that's because we don't only get food, we get medical items, we get mouthwashes, we get cosmetics, and all that is given away.
Does mouthwash and cosmetics, do they have expiration dates? I don't remember looking.
Yes, but if they return, if there is an expiration date, we won't take it. But if it's a returned item and it's in date, we give it away. We get at our farmers market that we do, the veteran farmers market, we have quite a number of detergents that come back for whatever reason, laundry products, health products. We get diapers. We get adult diapers returned that the person may have passed away and had couple of extra boxes. So they will bring it back to Costco for credit, and they donate it to us.
Now, when you bring a product back to Costco or the supermarket has to get rid of it because they can't sell it, is that a tax deduction for them, or are you aware of that?
I don't think it is. I think that they donated because it would have been garbage, and you don't get tax credit for garbage. So instead of disposing it, they're more comfortable giving it to people that give it away.
And is that tax deductible if they give you $1 million worth of produce? Or...
I have given out tax letters. We don't know, but we'll give them a tax letter. Let them deal with their accountants and the tax people. If they need proof, we absolutely give them that. And we have had large donations, but last year, Madison Square Garden gave us over 80,000 pounds of food. We offered a tax letter and they said, no, we're just donating it.
Well, I think last year Madison Square Garden did need a tax deduction.
Sadly,
yeah,
wasn't a good year for any arena.
Well, I just hopefully now that when New York sports, that the Nets and the Knicks are in competition now, in contention.
I'm hoping that we'll get the call. We actually got a call, what's today? Tuesday, Sunday, we got a call from the head of food services for Citi Field, new guy, Andy Wilson, who knows us because he was at Jones Beach and had worked with me. And he said the Met game was called off because of rain.
Yeah.
I said, what do you got? He says, 42 trays of food. And so he froze it. And at 5 o'clock tonight, we have one of our churches, Pastor Chris Boney's going to pick it up.
Now, I was asking earlier, on a typical day, what do you do individually?
So my donation is, I have relationships now with about 7 donors that just the way they do business need to donate food on a daily basis. So I go every morning to Costco, our local Panera, our local Chipotle. I go to a bakery called Wald's Bake Shop. I then go to the Bagelery, which is a bagel store in town. I go to Toddy's, which is an appetizing store, gives bagels. And I go to Crawford's, which does muffins. And that I do every day. It takes me about an hour to an hour and a half. 3 days a week, on top of that, we go to Trader Joe's, and all those items now, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays are given out to the veterans first. And then whatever left goes to the Five-Town Community Center, Yammy's Pantry. When we don't run the farmer's market, Yammy's Pantry gets food 7 days a week. They're open. So I bring them food, whatever we don't use. And I've been doing that now 34 years.
Wow.
Since 1987. I enjoy doing it. I have relationships with all these people. They love donating because, like any good chef, if you talk to a chef, he wants none of his food that he has created to be thrown away. He wants people to eat his creations because he has such pride in what he's done.
Yeah, well,
what she's done.
Well, it's funny you should mention that because when I was selling radio, especially with KFAC, which was classical radio in Los Angeles, a lot of my clients were restaurants, and a lot of the restaurants that I serviced were chef owner restaurants. So I would go there in the morning, to talk to them about the advertising of their special, and I'd be in the kitchen with them. I've never seen people that love their work as much as chefs. I mean, it was like that they were creating each dish or each recipe was masterpiece, and take it and taste it, and if it needed another sprinkle of salt, just to make it perfect, they do it, and they had the smile on their face. They loved it, so I can relate to what you're talking about.
Yes, and I believe that most people that are in the food business feel that they want nothing thrown away. Malcolm, nothing. They put their energies into it, and they look at us as saviors of their food.
Well, I get that feeling with you also when I speak to you and see you get animated when you talk about what you're doing, and you do get animated, and there's a certain spark in your eyes of the satisfaction that you're doing something and that you're helping, and you love it. I mean, aside from anything else, you love it.
I do. And I want to inspire other people, and there are people out there. We met this girl a year and a half ago, Sasha Young, and Sasha runs Yammy's Pantry. Well, she works 7 days a week feeding people that I give her the food, but she has now close to 400 families that come on a weekly basis to get food. And I see the smile on her face. They couldn't pay her enough to do this, because she feels God's love, as I do. I'm inspired by God, and I knew that from day one. And I don't talk about it, but I really feel an inspiration, and I feel very humble that I've almost been chosen to do this, because not everyone would do this 7 days a week. I don't look at it as work. I look at it as paying back for living.
As I say, if you do something you love, you don't work a day in your life.
100%.
Yeah. But one day we're going to have to go over your background, because I mean, you talk about, when we do it off camera, and you talk about the things that you've done and the things you've been involved with, and I just sit back and I marvel at it. I mean,
I've been blessed.
I want to give you the Albert Einstein Award for achievement that people don't really realize, or the things that you've
But you
done
know
and been
what?
involved with.
It's a double-edged sword, because I'll tell you what did happen. I was honored by the president when Bill Clinton was president. I was awarded what's called a Point of Light, which had been started by George Bush in the 1980s. And I was nominated by the Secretary of Agriculture at that time. And I received this award. And it's so humbling. It's, it's a huge honor to be honored by the president and by our country. But the other side of it is, I feel every morning that I have to re-earn that award. And every day I go, boy, did I do enough to be honored again, because once you get that award, you really feel that the rest of your life has to be devoted to re-earning it every day.
Right, but I think if the truth be known, you would still have this urge even if you didn't get the award. You would wake up in the morning and say, I want to do more. Am I doing enough? Because the need is so great. By the way,
Yeah.
how can people get, if they have any ideas of volunteering or getting involved, how can they get in touch with you?
So they could just 1-877-691-FOOD is our national number. They could go right to the rockandwrapitup.org website. They could call my office right here. I pick up the phone, 516-295-0670. And they could get to us in any myriad of ways. And love to speak to people and love to show them how they themselves could make that difference.
And you can operate in any city, any state, any town, right?
100%. We are all over this country and have been, and there are hungry people all over this country.
Really, yeah. Anyway,
So we need people. You out there, give us a call.
Okay, repeat that number again.
The local number is 516-295-0670. The national number is 877-691-FOOD.
Okay, very good. And you always can contact me at malcolmpresents@gmail.com, and I can get you in touch with Syd, and I'll give you all his information. But anyway, we just, believe it or not, which I always, when I talk to you, half hour goes by fast. My little beeper beeped.
Well, until we meet again, Malcolm. Thank you.
What did they say? Where's it? Auf Wiedersehen, or?
Auf Wiedersehen is German.
Yeah, I know. There's one of them, until we meet again. I don't.
Well, the one that I use a lot is Vaya con Dios.
Vaya con Dios. But what I use a lot is Shalom.
May peace be with you.
Bye.
Vaya con Dios. Shalom.
Shalom.